Hey y'all, today very cool guest. Actually, if you listen to the Spanish language telecast broadcast of the Eagles or the Phillies, you'd be listening to Oscar Budejen. Oscar, tell the people about yourself.
How are you, Matt? It's great to be here. An honorable mention and pleasure and an honor to be here. Well, a little bit background on myself. I was born in Venezuela in South America. I was almost born in the U.S. in Miami, but my family is originally from Cuba on my mom's side. And by a month, they decided to take me down to Venezuela, where my dad and my mom were working. And so I was born down in Venezuela, but my grandparents would live in Atlanta. So I would come every summer to Atlanta. So Atlanta at that time was my second home. So I would come every single summer and watch a lot of the Braves and Phillies games there, as well as the Falcons games and the Eagles and a lot of the fun stuff.
And that's where you got familiar with the Buddy Ryan defense, is what
Well,
you're telling me?
what I did is after I graduated, I went to Atlanta. I started studying in Atlanta, and I would go to the Falcons Stadium. The Falcons were awful at the time. And I watched the Buddy Ryan's defense with all those marvelous players. I mean, and they were unbelievable. And I fell in love with the Eagles defense, and I fell in love with the Eagles at the time, and they became my team. I mean, I was 18 years old at the time, or something like that, when I began to study. And I mean, I've been an Eagles fan ever since, and a Phillies fan. I mean, it's more kind of a passion of mine. I mean, believe it or not, I fell in love with the Orioles bird, the Baltimore Orioles bird. And
Okay.
throughout I played a lot of baseball throughout my youth days down in Venezuela, and I kind of connected with the Orioles immediately. And then when I came to Atlanta, I saw the Phillies and all the great things they were doing. Manny Trillo was kind of the second baseman at the time of that 1980 World Series, and kind of they became kind of my second team there after the Orioles. So the Orioles are in the American League, and the Phillies are in the National League. How about that?
And so that was around when you were about 20 years old?
Yeah, I would say 18. I mean, after I graduated, I came to the U.S. To study, and I did my undergrad and my MBA in Atlanta, Georgia. My grandparents were there, and I would go to every single Falcons game at the time. And one of the things that I did, I loved the game of football so much that I would sit at the top of the stadium where all the coaches are, and I would ask the coaches questions. And that's how I became kind of a student of the game. And one of the things that I did when I was studying, I saw in CBS, they had a Spanish-speaking kind of broadcast, news broadcast. It was done every Saturday morning, and they didn't have a sportscaster. So when I was 19 years old, I went to the producer of the broadcast, and I said, "Look, you're not doing anything on the sports. Can I be your sportscaster?" And at 19-year-old, I became a sportscaster on CBS, and I did that for 2 or 3 years. Then when I graduated, I went down to Venezuela, and then I started broadcasting Major League Baseball, the NBA, as well as the NFL. And I remember 2 Sunday games of the NFL. I would do the broadcasting, and then Monday night, I would do the NFL Monday Night Football game. So I was kind of the Madden of Latin America. How about that?
That's super cool. So switching gears to the Phils, because of course you don't just do the birds, which of course if you've listened to the show
Absolutely.
before, you know I'm going to get to the birds at some point. But so with the Phillies, they've been pretty good. They've been pretty good of late, save for the Diamondbacks series here. Was the first 2 of this series kind of a more of a canary in the coal mine, or it's just a bad series by a good team?
Yeah, I think it's a bad series by a good team. I think the leadership that we have this year with Harper, Schwarber, when you look at Realmuto, Castellanos, I mean, there's a lot of veteran players that have gone very far in baseball and in the playoffs. I mean, they are proven winners in a lot of the places where they've been. And I do believe, and particularly Schwarber. Schwarber has played in 4 playoff series and a World Series and a couple World Series. And the guy, I mean, to me, brings all the energy and the right mentality to the team. So, I mean, if you go back to when we play the Rangers and we play the Cubs as well as the Diamondbacks, I mean, for some reason, I mean, it's 100 and and 62 games. I mean,
Yep.
we're in the 132nd game of the year.
Yep.
I mean, you go through those series and you just move on. And I think last night, it was a long night. I mean, but we got a few records there
Oh
on the
yeah.
records book. I mean, hitting 22 hits and 18 runs. I mean, you can see
Yep.
what this team is capable of offensively.
Yeah, I think it'll largely be. I think it was good for the team to kind of develop the killer mentality,
Mm-hmm.
because when they were up 7-0, I think there's like a tendency in all sports to kind of let your foot off the gas a little bit. This team is gone, and then by the time you realize it and start taking, when you're in those kind of games, by the time you realize that the other team is well on their way to catching up and potentially beating you, they're already kind of past you, and then you're demoralized.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'll be on the watch out over the next few days is, we know Wheeler went down for a couple of weeks. It was more precautionary than it was not a big injury. Sir Anthony, I talked to Sir Anthony as well, and I think Sir Anthony will be back next week. That is the hope, as well as Wheeler. Wheeler should be pitching on the 6th against the Marlins. I think the bigger question to me is, are the Nolas and Rangers of this world? Ranger have never pitched so many innings in the major leagues. Are they getting tired? And if that is the case, I mean, should we go to a 6-man pitching staff? I mean, that is something that I'm going to be in the lookout. I mean, when you look at Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Gibson, Syndergaard, and maybe Falter, that have been pitching so well, potentially we should go over the last month of the season to a 6-man pitching staff, and giving that extra day, even though we're going to get an extra day by not pitching in 4 straight Mondays. But should we give a little bit more rest? And we know the history of Nola in September, so maybe
Yes.
that might be something that we should do. And I'm going to be paying close attention to that. We should give an extra day here and there to the pitchers.
I really hope that the Phil's pitching staff is working with Syndergaard on some more off-speed stuff. I mean, he just really doesn't. And I think, albeit for somebody who doesn't throw any 90 miles per hour to say, but his fastball has lost some of the zip.
Absolutely.
He doesn't have the, absolute all-world hammer that he used to have of a fastball. And the changeup, I was listening to it the other night, and you can just see it when you're watching him play. The changeup and the fastball really is not looking. It looks like a BP fastball.
Yeah.
When you're.
Yeah, and you see it on the hits. You see it on the number of hits per innings pitch. I mean, he's allowing a lot of hits, but he's a veteran. He's evolving from being a thrower to being a true pitcher, and you can see that his curveball has probably been one of the best pitches that he has had. And particularly in the beginning of games, I get a little worried. But then after he passes the second or third inning, I mean, you can see him kind of getting on a timing, locating the pitchers better. I mean, trying to mix his off pitches together with his limited sinker that he has, and he's a different pitcher. I mean, he's not the Syndergaard of 2 or 3 years ago with the Mets. So look, you got to evolve. And is he reliable? I mean, I think he's okay. I mean, for being kind of your 5th pitcher in a rotation,
Yes.
and particularly because of the experience that he brings to the table.
Yes.
But I mean, if we go to the playoffs, it's going to be a combination of Wheeler, Nola, potentially our combination of Ranger and Gibson. Look, people have been asking me, and I like Ranger. I know Ranger will hate me if I say this, but I think Ranger is such a weapon coming out of the bullpen. We saw what he was able to do last year in middle relief, closing.
Yes.
He has so much flexibility, and the innings are so high on him that it might not be a bad idea that you start moving Ranger more to a bullpen, even though I think he's our 3rd best pitcher on this staff. But I think Gibson had been pitching so well over the last few days that
He has.
I mean, he might. I mean, you got to see who you got to go with who is hottest at the end of the year. But Ranger could be such a weapon. I mean, you can bring him in the 5th inning, on the 6th inning, and even to close a game. That he could be such a. He doesn't have any blood in his veins. I mean, that guy is such a. Keeps a cool demeanor when he's pitching, and I mean, look, that might be the best solution for the Phillies down the stretch. So we got to keep an eye on that as well.
I was thinking that's a great point, Oscar. I was thinking about Syndergaard maybe to the pen, But no, I don't, because he would, like we're talking about, with all due respect to the great career he's had so far,
Mm-hmm.
we can't give up that many hits late in the game. He will get tagged. He keeps the runs from coming across for so long, but Ranger to the pen could be dominant.
And relief pitching becomes if you go and you look at every series, I mean, the way baseball has evolved over the last few years, the role that the pen plays in winning games is so important, particularly when you're looking at your third or fourth starter, that having a Ranger back there to pitch you 2 or 3 innings and get you out of a jam. I mean, he might be you could pitch Syndergaard for 3 or 4 innings, and then Ranger can come in and pitch you 3 or 3 innings, and you can be in a position with the dominant closers that we have. I mean, relief in the back of the. I mean, Alvarado is pitching out of his mind. I mean, Robertson. I think, by the way, the best acquisition Dombrowski did over the trade season. I mean, it was, to me, Robertson. Robertson
No
is such a
question.
tremendous pitcher. We know that Knebel did not work, and he's out for the season. And to me, I mean, hopefully he'll sign for a couple of years. Robertson could be a tremendous asset to this team, together with Sir Anthony in the back of the
Oh yeah.
pen. That could be a dominating pen for many years to come. So I really like what we could do at the end of games, and potentially moving Ranger to the back. I mean, could be a tremendous thing for the Phillies.
So on the other side of the ball for the Phils, Kyle Schwarber had June. Alec Boehm took over in July. I'd say August is kind of a mix of Reese Hoskins and Real Muto. Who takes over for our September?
It has to be Harper. I mean, Harper is our MVP. I mean, this team looks up to Harper to kind of put him in his back and take him to the stretch run, and Harper will take us to the playoff. He's I've seen the evolution of Harper as a hitter, and the hitter that Harper was 2 years ago and the hitter that he's today. Again, I'm talking prior to the injury. I mean, he probably needs a couple of weeks to get going completely, but Harper is such an unbelievable hitter. I mean, when you look at a left-handed hitter like Harper, a power hitter like Harper, hitting against left-handed hitter, and he did it yesterday against, even though he's a rookie and the kid has been playing, Henry was pitching very well. You saw in the first inning, he drove that base hit through the middle. He's learned to hit. He learned to be a much more intelligent hitter and go where the ball is being pitched. And he's such a smart hitter and such a weapon for us. I mean, that Harper is going to take us to the playoff. I have no doubts about that.
Oh, that is
no
wow.
doubts about that.
No doubts. Okay.
Between Harper and Schwarber, we're going to the playoffs. I mean,
oh yeah, to the playoffs, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't wait to. I'm hoping that the Braves beat the Mets,
yes,
and that we have to go to Citi Field. And no, to Citi Field. If the Mets if the Braves beat the Mets, the Braves win the division. We are going to Citi Field.
Okay.
We're going to see, hopefully, I mean, we become the second seed in the wild cards. We are going to Citi Field, and I can't wait to go back there with Wheeler, Nola, and Ranger coming out of the pen and going after those Mets and showing those Mets what we're capable of doing after everything they've done this year.
So you want the Mets, Oscar?
I want the Mets. I want the Mets. I want to look. This team has the experience, have the players to go into Citi Field, and you start seeing in some of the games the hitting. I mean, unfortunately, our pitching didn't hold up. But look, I can't wait to. The Mets are like, oh, we're the greatest, we're the best, and going over there and show Walter and the gang. I mean, Thompson with his demeanor, such a wonderful demeanor. He's a winner. He's proven to be a tremendous winner. I can't wait to go to Citi Field and beating them 2 out of 3 games and coming back and then potentially going to Atlanta or St. Louis and then continuing the playoff run. This team can do a lot of damage.
Oh, yes.
If our pitching and our starting pitching and our hitters come together, this team could be unbelievable, and we can do a lot of damage in the playoffs.
I just to exactly what you're saying, Oscar. If the kind of playoff baseball is all about momentum and feeling, and if we go up to New York and go take care of business 2 out of 3 against the Mets, they're going to win the World
Watch out.
Series.
Watch out. I'm telling you, watch out. I mean, look, the team has the talent. I mean, I do believe that our lineup is not as structurally sound from the first hitter. I mean, Schwarber is not your ideal first hitter. Hoskins is not your ideal second hitter. I mean, probably Stubbs can play a role in the future there. I love Stubbs as a hitter. I think he's going to evolve into a tremendous Major League Baseball hitter. But we don't have kind of the ideal lineup, but we have hitters. I mean, this team is built to. We're going to strike out a lot, but we're also going to get a lot of base on balls, and we're going to hit a lot of home runs. And we have not been hitting a lot of home runs lately. I mean, all our damage yesterday, 18 runs, not even one home run. I mean, which is fascinating. I mean,
that's good. That's good hitting.
Which is good hitting. I mean, no problem. And again, we were not going against the best pitchers in baseball and all that. And this will evolve, I mean, as we go into it. But this team needs to hit home runs to score runs. I mean, he has proven it throughout the entire season, and I expect that will be the case in the playoffs. And September will be a proof of that.
Wow, you got me excited for Red October. We're going to the playoffs. We are.
This team will be scary. I'm telling you. If Harper gets hot the way I expected in September, a red hot Harper. We know the experience that Schwarber has in the playoffs. And with the power that a Hoskins and Realmuto is such a wonderful player. My God, complete! Yes. He's the perfect combination of a catcher that can hit and can run. Look, the way Harper, Realmuto, and Stubbs run the bases. Oh my! I mean, it's a treat. I mean, when I'm sitting there at Citizens Bank Park and I'm seeing those guys when they're on base, it's such a luxury to see smart players like that play baseball. That I mean, you absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Realmuto and behind the dish, he's certainly, definitely the arm is undeniable. I mean, I might have not been so hot on Realmuto earlier in the season because he wasn't so hot, but he's the best catcher in baseball. That's how he's playing right now.
The way he throws the ball, I mean, no run. I mean, the runner. I'm telling you, this team is very scary. And Alec Bohm. Hitting, I mean, he's become a much better hitter. He's learned. The game has slowed down for him so much that is such a beauty to watch him hit. I mean, he can hit to all fields. I mean, and he's learning to hit for power. I mean, yesterday he got a ball in the alley, and I mean, I'm telling you, hang on to your seats. I mean, it could be a very interesting October for the Phillies.
Wow.
The Fighting Phils. How about that?
So on the other side of the Philadelphia Sportsplex, you got the Eagles, which you're also affiliated with. You call the games over there. First things first, not going to ignore the elephant in the room. Jalen Reagor traded. What are your initial thoughts there?
Initial thoughts, he had to be traded. I mean, he was the bad apple in the team. I mean, he didn't match with the team, and I just think, I mean, where his mindset was, I saw how he played the game, and he played with such a level of risk that he would lose a lot of footballs, and I think it's the right thing to do for him to start his career somewhere else. And to me, was he a first round, and did we get all the value that? Look, at the end of the day, it's about the game is a combination of two things. Your physical part, but also the mental part. The mental part in the game of football and the game of baseball is as important, if not more important, than your physical aspect. And mentally, he was not. He took too much risk, in my opinion. And I think that believe it or not, I think our biggest challenge is who is going to be the returner for the Eagles this year. I'm hoping they give the opportunity to Quest Watkins. I think Quest, with his great speed, could be a tremendous weapon for the team.
Yes.
I think a combination of him with Covey, I mean, could be the way. I think Covey and Allen is not, I mean, ready to return kicks. I love how he played it. No, I love how he played at the end, kind of on the special teams.
Gunner.
He could, yeah, absolutely. He's a gunner. You can see he brings tremendous amount of speed and ability. And again, I look at him more like a Malata project. I mean, more of a 2 to 3 year project. If he pans out, great. If he doesn't, I mean, we didn't lose anything. But his speed is out of this world. I mean, he's a world-class athlete, and he could be a tremendous asset down the road. But Quest Watkins, I think, should be the punt returner on this team, and could be a tremendous weapon for us.
Please, it just the thought of it is just electric. That guy's acceleration. Maybe not. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill kind of top end speed. Who does? But the acceleration, the shiftiness is exactly what you're looking for from a punt returner.
And remember, when you're looking at the punt returning, at the punt return game, it's a combination of two things. There is a lot of, depending on where the punter is, you could play it safer, and you can have a Kobe that is a good catcher, have done this for a number of years, and you can play it safe. But if it is you have the potential to have a big return, that's when you play Quest Watkins, and
Yes.
you can have kind of a double weapon returning kicks for us. That's what I would expect will happen with the team.
Wow. That is exciting because the Eagles special teams used to be a strength of the team, but I wouldn't say last year it was.
I mean, Chip Kelly, to be honest with you, if there is one thing that Chip Kelly brought to that team is a focus on special teams.
Yes.
I mean, you saw some of the gunners that we had, and he played a lot of attention to that. He had a couple of players that specialized on that. I do believe that Sean Bradley is a tremendous special team player that we have. He's very good, but having a gunner the way we used to have before, I mean, that could potentially be Allen. They bring him up, and he could potentially play that role. Maybe not in the beginning, but down the road with the team, with some of the defensive backs that we have, we could have something special brewing here.
Something that is newly come out, Marcus May from the New Orleans Saints, one of the other safeties for the Saints, just
got
arrested. Amazing, because had this happened 24, 48 hours before, Oscar and I taping this, we wouldn't have CJ Gardner-Johnson. First of all, that's remarkable. Second, what are your thoughts on CJ?
Well, first of all, kudos to Howie, right? I mean, we've complained, and we know the history of you cannot hit on every draft pick. I mean, that's the reality of football. But Howie have done a significant, a fantastic role the last 2 or 3 years with the draft. The level of talent that is coming out to this team, the Dickersons of this world, which I think is going to be, the left side of the line with Mailata and Dickerson, oh mine. I mean, those guys remain healthy. That line, I would just hand the ball and run through those guys. I mean, they are going to be, it's just fascinating. I mean, seeing what those guys, the upside those two guys have. And then now you add Jurgens, what will be our future center. I mean, look at that guy running outside. I mean, Stout does such a tremendous job with the line. I mean, kudos to him. He's the best position coach in football. But going back to your question, I think Gardner-Johnson, look, the game of football is evolving to a passing game. We know that. He's a slot receiver. I mean, that's what he's done. He played in college safety.
Corner, you mean, right?
No, he's a slot corner. I mean, I said receiver. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I meant a slot corner. He played 68% of his snaps last year was playing a slot corner. So he has tremendous ability in coverage. So what you need to do is the combination of Epps that needs to continue evolving his game. And I call him the torpedo, by the way. I remember an interception he made in Washington a couple of years ago that was fantastic. And you see him growing as a player together with his ability of coverage that Gardner-Johnson has. I think we have a duo there that needs to grow. They're not going to be the best safeties in the NFL day one, but they can cover. And at least Epps is physical. I mean, he's small, but he's physical in his nature. So I think we'll have a couple of young players that continue to evolve. And then you have the ability on the sides with Bradbury and with Slay, which is one of the best cover men in football. I mean, I think we should be in very good shape. I mean, I'll keep an eye on the wire out there, for the waiver wire, for other safeties that might come to this team. But I think, I think we're going to have a young group. And I think the most important thing in football is health. If our team remains healthy and all those guys can play the majority of the games, I think we're going to be in tremendous position from a D-back standpoint for the Eagles, both at corner and safety.
Yeah, I wrote a couple months ago that I believe that Marcus Epps would be the X factor of the season. I think that that's largely still true on the defensive end because now
Mhm.
he's kind of still not. You still have some questions. You know that he's a good player, but will he evolve into somebody who's legitimately a starter? But now that defense has the opportunity to be elite, not just good.
Talent wise,
Yes.
it could be a top 10, top 5 defense. Talent
Yes.
wise, I think that is one to me. The two bigger questions, as we know, is the evolution of Jellum as a passer, and the second bigger question is, can Jonathan Gannon leverage all this tremendous talent that he has? Because he has, I mean, he has a Lego, right? He has all. I mean, he has a Lego to play with, and he's
Yes.
going to play a hybrid defense. I mean, you're gonna. I
Yes.
expect a lot of blitzes. I mean,
Yes.
with Reddick up there. By the way, to me, I think one of the things we were talking before in terms of the questions. I think a guy that we should just keep top of mind. He's going to be such a special player, Kaiser White. I think Kaiser White will be an
Yes.
unbelievable player for this
Yes.
defense because he had 145 tackles last year for a very good defense with the Chargers. Plus, the guy used to be a safety and can play both linebacker and go back on coverage. So I think Kaiser White is going to be one of the unsung heroes for the Eagles this season. I love the play. I mean, look, he had one of the interceptions on the first game, and I expect huge things for him. And that guy's a player. He's from Philly, and you know how we love those guys that can
Oh
play good and
yeah.
are from Philly. So
This defense is going to be fast. If you haven't been paying attention, you're just listening. Watch when you watch the Eagles lineup. That is going to be a fast defense. Again, we don't know what the scheme, if they'll mesh, if they'll figure it out right away. But those guys, it won't be because people are going to be blowing by them or they're not
I
going to be
think
able to get
the
to the
stat is
passer.
last year, 16 touchdowns by tight ends. That's going to be huge with Reddick, with Kaiser White, with Dean, with Jordan Davis in the middle. I mean, we're going to have a much different. I mean, we have the ability to have, as we said, possibly a top 5, a top 10 defense. I expect no less than that,
Yes.
and potentially a top 5 defense. Now, the question is going to be, can Jonathan Gannon leverage all these pieces and use them to the maximum of their ability and provide the right scheme to and I see a combination of a 3-4, 4-3 defense hybrid. It's going to be a hybrid defense. I mean, that's what I expect this season.
When we look back on the season, who is going to be the best Eagles defender?
I think it's probably going to be a combination between Reddick and White. Those two are going to probably be the top 2 players on that defense. I mean, because look, we were the 31st defense in football in sacks last year. I mean, that
Yes.
cannot. I mean, that needs to stop. I mean, I know that. I mean, bringing Brandon Graham back will help a ton, but I do believe Reddick is going. I mean, what he's done is he has wrecked defenses and he's had a great training camp because he has Lane Johnson in front of him.
Yes.
So there is not a better trainer than Lane Johnson in front of you. One pressure last year. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. I mean, one quarterback pressure last year. He's at a. I mean, he's an unbelievable. I mean, an unbelievable right tackle for us. So I think Reddick is probably going to be Reddick, and I would not put too far behind White. I think White is going to be a major weapon for this team.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled about it. I'm thrilled. How many wins? What does that translate in terms of wins to you?
I think 10, 11, it's kind of the number that I've been running. I don't want to go too far away. I mean,
Yep.
everybody, I mean, 12, 13. Look, let's be realistic. I mean, football is football. There are going to be
Yeah.
times where on the road where, I mean, we play some tough teams. I mean, Green Bay, the Titans. I mean, there's going to be some very important matchups that we're going to have to face. And we know that in the division, we're not going to win every single game. So
Yep.
I think one of the core games, I mean, if we're going to have a good season, we have to beat Dallas on that Monday Night Football. I mean, that is a must game for the Eagles. I mean, if I tell you one game, that Monday night games against the Cowboys is going to be one of the most important games of the season.
Yeah. Do you think that the Eagles split with the Cowboys? They
Yeah, I
get
see a
swept or
split.
they sweep?
I think realistically speaking, I expect a sweep. I can't believe Jason Peters is going to visit the Cowboys.
Oh my gosh. Speak about honorable. I mean, the guy is a Hall of Famer,
Oh
so
my
not
God.
even honorable mention. But yeah, for the people Listen,
Yeah,
man,
it's
Jason Peters to the Cowboys.
we feel it. We feel it. I mean, it's as Eagles fans. I mean, we feel it in here. I mean, it's
What's
look.
the saddest part, actually, as somebody who got to watch him for so long, wear my team's colors and be fantastic. He's gonna get embarrassed. He's not. We're
Yeah,
talking about
absolutely.
Hassan Reddick. We're talking about Kaiser White. We're talking about all these guys coming up off the edge. Jordan Davis. Fletcher Cox potentially playing the end this year.
He's going to play. I mean, he's playing for a contract, so I mean, Fletcher is going to try to be a special. I mean, to me, he has the athletic ability to be. He has been, but he has the athletic ability to be kind of at another level. When I look at Aaron Donald train, I mean, I actually send him a few tweets so he can watch him train, so he can get into a same regimen of training. Because I mean, he has the talent. I mean, he wrecks. I mean, offensive linemen. He's done it throughout his entire career. The last 2 or 3 years, either injury or conditioning, he has not been the same player that he was a few years back. I mean, and I expect much more from him. I mean, and particularly him being one of the leaders of the team.
You expect Fletcher to
To be a
dominant
better
Fletcher to
player
make
than
appearance?
yeah. What was that?
You expect dominant Fletcher to make some appearances this year?
I mean, I'm hoping. Let's just put. I'm hoping. I mean, he looks skinnier. I mean, he looks mentally. I think he looks with a better attitude, and hopefully that will. And this is the last year of his contract, so if he wants to keep playing football, I mean, he needs to bring it. And I mean, the way Brandon Graham brought it, and look, let's be clear, he's historically been double team and those things, but I mean, Hargrave basically has been the best player in that line over the last couple of years. So I expect a lot more from Fletcher, and hopefully he can bring. The other thing, rotation. I mean, you got much more better talent now. I think you can rotate better. I mean, injuries at the end will play them. In football, injuries are fundamental
Yep.
to defining a season.
Absolutely.
But I think, look, Jalen and Jonathan Gannon to me define the Eagles in 2022. I mean, Jalen, look, this is an important year for him because it's a contract year as well. I mean, the question is, he was the 27th quarterback, 210 yards by passing last year. He was the 26th with 61% of the passes. Percentage conversion, I mean, of passes, I mean, percentage completion. I mean, you see the evolution in Buffalo with Allen. I mean, he went from the 50s to the 60s to the 70s. Can he become a 70% passer and bring balance to this offense? The Eagles have not have better wide receivers. I mean, T.O. was probably the best wide receiver we ever had. But, I mean, A.J. Brown doesn't fall too far behind. I mean, the guy plays with an edge and hungry. I mean, you want players that play hungry. And Devonta Smith is such a skilled athlete. I mean, such a skilled route runner. I mean, it's a pleasure to watch him run routes. I mean, he doesn't need to be the wide receiver this year. So he's going to have a much better season. And then you have Dallas Goedert, that is a tremendous tight end, probably a top 5 tight end in my book. I mean, you have all the weapons you need, and you have the best offensive line in football by a mile. So Jalen Hurts, complete passes. and then the other thing is, go ahead.
No, Oscar, go ahead.
No, I think, look, last year we were the last team in the NFL. We completed 5 passes for more than 40 yards. 5 passes for more than 40 yards. And I think the other thing is Jalen was the lowest percentage passer passing through the middle. He needs to play with. He needs to bring more risk to his game. Needs to be smart, but play with. You need to risk it. You need to anticipate your receivers, and you need to make the appropriate pass. I mean, and that's what we expect from him this year as part of his evolution.
I think he'll make the next step, and I think he's going to make it very interesting for the Eagles on how much they pay him. But I think Jalen Hurts ends up getting some money.
He should. He should, and look, if he evolves to become a 70% completion passer, and you see the 200. Look, what we need is the Jalen Hurts that played against the Broncos last year. That's the Jalen Hurts that we need. That was his best game that he played all year. That's like Jalen Hurts, where he took the risk. He threw in through double coverage. He threw when his man was covered, but he anticipated the receiver, and he made the throws that he needed to throw to win that game.
He did, and I think he's capable of that. I think that's what mostly we'll see. I don't think we'll ever see a game like he played against the Giants. I don't think that throw that tape away, burn it. That's never going to happen again. He'll play more like he did in that game, I believe, this season, especially with the weapons he has.
I agree. Look, it's going to be fascinating. Both the Phillies and the Eagles are bringing it this year. I mean, the talent is there for us to make a good run. I mean, probably the Eagles are a little ahead in terms of roster. But I think the Phillies are one player away, and Bryce Harper was recruiting him a few days ago when he was on
Turner
on TV. Trey Turner comes to his lineup. I can guarantee you we go to the World Series. You keep the same pitching staff that you have, and I know there's a lot of guys that we need to. Look, we're bringing the talent that the Phillies have in the minors with McGarry, with Painter, with the talent they have in the minors are going to replace some of the kind of the fourth and the fifth pitchers. I mean, you have Ranger for 3 more years. If you get Nola and you get Wheeler and you bring some of that talent, and maybe we sign Gibson for a couple years. I mean, he's an innings eater. He's a very good pitcher in the role that he plays. And you bring some of that youth. I mean, this team is going to make it to the World Series in the next 2 to 3 years with a Trey Turner hitting at the top of the order. Guaranteed.
That's exciting, man. That's exciting.
Look, Staub has a beautiful swing, one of the most beautiful swings that there is right now in this team. He's going to be a player. Baum will continue to evolve. They're going to have to make a decision between first and third base with Hoskins and Baum. I mean, there's going to be some questions there. Potentially, I mean, they don't resign Reese and Baum moves to first base, and then you bring a better defensive third baseman. I mean, he's improving, but he's not the best. He's not going to be the best third baseman in baseball. I mean, look at Riley. I mean, Riley with Atlanta, he was not a very good defensive player, and he became a much better player. So I think the Phillies are going to have to make some key decisions. But I'm telling you, Trey Turner at the top of this lineup, you move Stott to second. Watch out. Here comes the Phillies for the World Series.
Well, you heard it here first from Oscar Budejen. Oscar, tell the people where we can follow along and show you some support, where we can listen to you especially.
Yeah, absolutely. So the listening, we are all both in the MLB app. If you go to the MLB app and you press the Phillies in English is Scott and LA and the rest of the gang, and then we are on the ESP, which is the Spanish voice. The Phillies is Spanish voice on the MLB app. The same thing on the NFL Plus, the new NFL Plus. It used to be Game Pass. We're always there. We're in La Mega, which is in FM, which is 105.7 in La Mega, and on the Phillies is on 1680 AM in every single one of the games, and also on my social media at Oscar Budejen, both on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all the social medias. I'm at Oscar Budejen. And look, let's go do it, man. This is the future. The future is ours.
Oh, I have to have you back if we're in the playoffs, because you're bringing the right vibes.
Yeah, no, look, the teams have the talent. It's more a matter of execution. And again, Thompson has brought so much to the Phillies. And look, Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon, I mean, they have the talent now. Can they make it work? And that is the bigger question.
We will find out. We will find
Philly
out.
Rob. I'm all for Philly Rob. How about
that? Philly Rob.
Philly Rob. We're all with Philly Rob. He's a great guy. I mean, I love the guy.
Absolutely. Well, y'all, thank you so much for listening. Follow the show over on Instagram. It's honorable mention _podcast. Mention pod over on Twitter. And of course, I'm Matt Rogers, POLITIDOP. Oscar, it's a great time. Go Phils. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Go Birds. Go Phils. Fighting Phils. Take it easy. Thank you, man. Thank you for the opportunity. Take it easy.
Yeah, all right.